Welcome to Patrick's Piano Blog. For many, many years, people have been coming to me asking me to give them piano lessons. And usually, those people were older people who said to themselves, or who let it be known that they had wished that they had taken piano lessons when they were younger, or they had started taking and then gave it up because they didn't realize the value at that time. And so I decided to put something together where we could all learn together because I believe it's never too late to learn how to play the piano, how to enjoy music, how to become familiar with putting sounds and rhythms together. So this is lesson one. And the only requirement is that I ask you to send me email, send me some feedback so that we can really get into the nitty gritty of what you may want to know. But I'm going to start from the beginning. I'm going to go way back, and we're going to discuss some principles. We're going to discuss some music fundamentals, okay? And those fundamentals primarily are, well, you're going to need some tools also. I suggest you get some manuscript paper, which is this stuff right here, where it's comprised of lines and spaces that we call staves or staves, and we're going to do this. We're going to take a holistic approach in that I'm going to have you do a lot of writing, because if you write it out, if you're always engaging your body and your mind, then it kind of comes together. The body learns it, the mind learns it at a quicker pace, I think. And you're going to need a metronome. A metronome is a device that helps you to keep time. Say for instance, you were reading a piece of music that says quarter note equals 60. Then you could set your trusty metronome, like I have here, to 60 beats per minute. And the quarter note, 60 beats per minute, would sound like this. That means you would go boom, 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 boom. Each note is a quarter note, okay? So you're going to need one of those to help you with these things we call scales, which we'll get into in another lesson, not today. Um, okay, so let's begin with a concept of this concept called music, and what is it? What is music? What is it comprised of? And usually you hear it's melody, rhythm, and harmony. And I'd like to go with that premise. I'd like to go with music is comprised of melody, rhythm, and harmony. Well, all of these things have their own subsets. And what I'm going to ask you to do is what your piano teachers may have asked you to do a long time ago, which is give into the process. Just give into the process, because something happens when I'm going to ask you to do hands apart. And when you do those hands apart over and over and over again, something begins to happen. Something happens. It gets into your body. It gets into your mind, right? It gets into your mind, and then all of a sudden you can put them together. And it becomes natural. It's just the most natural thing in the world. But a lot of people give up. They want to go straight to doing it all at once. No, just take your time. Whatever the lesson is, take your time. So we have melody, rhythm, and harmony. A big component of this is going to be writing, as I said, and singing. I have an awful voice. It's something I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, But you have to sing. You have to know what pitch relationships are. And the more you sing it, the more you can hear it and sing it, the better off you are. So now you're combining your internal ear with your facility. And what I mean by facility is your technique. And that's what we're going to develop. We're going to develop our ears. We're going to develop our eyes. A lot of people can hear really well, but they can't read really well. And I mean reading music, reading notation. Some people read extremely well, but their ears are a little slow. And some people have it all together, and they're, usually those people are quite amazing. But most people work at it. You have to do the work. There's no magic bullet. Let's just say that now. Just like diets, no magic bullet. With diets, your diet should consist of exercise and pushing away from the table. It's that simple. Just so with music, it's the same thing. You have to do the lesson. You have to do the work. So let's look at this thing. We were talking about staves and staves, and we have this thing called the treble clef, or the G clef. And what I'm going to do is get you in the process and in the practice of writing your G clefs, right? So you'll start here. And you're just going to make them, you're just going to draw them. The reason they call it the G clef is because you're going to draw a little circle around the G line. But you would never know that unless you know your lines and spaces. So let's backtrack a little bit. And let's really make sure that we get this, okay? So the first line of the treble or the G clef is an E. E as in Edward. The second line, we know this is an E. The second line is a G, as in good. We know that the third line is a B, as in boy. And we know that the fourth line is a D, as in does. And the fifth line is an F, as in fine. So I said Edward for the first line, but let's say every. So we know that every good boy does fine, right? Every good boy does fine, and that's how you remember the lines of this thing we call the G clef or the treble clef. Okay, let's do the spaces. Let's do the spaces. The first space. And you can see a pattern developing. What goes between E and G? F. Between G and B. Well, you wouldn't know that because that's a little, you wouldn't know that unless you really know this music thing. But the second space is an A, as an apple. The third space is a C, as in cat. And the fourth space is an E. So if you signaled out the spaces, you would have F, A, C, E. And that spells face. So the lines, every good boy does fine, E, G, B, D, F. The spaces, F, A, C, E. That is the treble clef. Is there more? Of course there's more. So now I want to take it further because I want to jump to the piano. I want to show you where all of this is on the piano. But I want you to write out everything just as I've just explained it. Let's write it out. Let's write F, A, C, E. Okay? And then on the next measure, these are called measures. Measures are delineated by these things we call bar lines. Bar lines, which go straight through the staff. Okay? So in the next measure, we're going to do E, G. You're drawing these things called whole notes. We're not there yet. Let's just take it slowly. E, G, B, D, and F. Every good boy does fine. Okay? If you can memorize that, you're doing great. So for the next lesson, let's have it memorized.